you anywhere from 75 cents to $2. It reduces greenhouse gases, and we're utilizing an American fuel. Some of the basics, the availability for vehicles, as you'll see some future slides, light to medium heavy-duty vehicles. The natural gas is actually delivered through the pipeline, through the grid. Essentially, it's the same natural gas that you're using to cook with and heat your home. It's compressed for dispensing about 3,600 psi. And when you pull into a fast fuel station, you'll get about 5 to 15 gallons per minute. So clean energy, we focus on high volume return to base fleets, those fleets that are looking for air quality benefits, economic benefits. Our key markets are the transit, refuse, airport, which is basically shuttles and taxis, buses, regional trucking, as well as municipalities. By focusing on this, it allows our clean energy to be profitable, but our clients to actually have some significant savings because of the considerable amount of fuel that they're using. So some imagery and understanding of these high volume fleets, as I mentioned, shuttle buses and the taxi industry and delivery, heavy-duty vehicles like transit buses and trash trucks and school buses are all really great targets for utilizing natural gas because, again, they're all using a significant amount of fuel. We're also very focused on the goods movement here at Clean Energy. As I'll show you in a future slide, basically the natural gas highway infrastructure that we're currently building. But the engines available today, you have a variety of choices, and there's more to be coming onto the marketplace. What's really great about natural gas engines is they met the 2010 diesel requirements back in 2007. You don't need to add, any of the additional filters, the urea, or any of that. It's 100% compliant, like I said, in 2007. A lot of the OEMs are offering natural gas vehicles, both on the heavy-duty equipment side, such as Freightliner and Kenilworth, but then also on transit buses and also all of your trash trucks as well. As I mentioned, Clean Energy is building America's natural gas highway infrastructure. We really believe in this market that the over-the-road trucking needs supported to reduce, obviously, dependency on foreign oil, but the cost is going up so significantly for them, and it's impacting our economy on a daily basis, just what we see in our supermarkets and in our stores. So the thought is to be able to build this infrastructure to help support our economy and reduce any of the costs that we have. Clean Energy is committed to building 150 LNG stations initially over the next 2 years. We have a national partnership with Pilot and Flying J, a major diesel depot where we'll be building the LNG stations. Some of these sites will also be LCNG, but that will be determined down the road. But again, really to help support the over-the-road trucking industry and the community surrounding. Here at Clean Energy, we have over 550 fleet customers. We support 25,000 natural gas vehicles daily, and we have over 280 natural gas fueling stations and growing. We're, as I mentioned earlier, we focus on municipalities, airports, transit, refuse, all the major sectors here. We're very proud to say that we have never missed rollout for our customers. And by doing that, we have created a full turnkey solution and really trying to eliminate any barriers for our customers to get into the marketplace. So our primary business is our fueling services, but with that, We have our construction and engineering. We own our own compressor company, manufacturer, IMW, which is important to note that it's a non-lubricated compressor, which helps with the reduction of oil transfer into the fuel system. We have over 50 and growing service technicians that are based in our local community to support our stations, with access to over $4 million worth of spare parts. So again, going back to our fleets not missing roll-up, that's something that's really important to us. We also have a grants and finance department, so we can help with smaller organizations that don't have the grant writing ability. We can help with that. Our finance department can help finance the station as well as finance vehicles. We have a vehicle conversion company, VAF, which is a QVM to Ford that focuses on light to medium duty vehicles. And then our LNG division, North Star, which we had acquired probably about a year ago, that's really focusing on that over-the-road trucking market. So clean energy is continuing to add to our toolbox and really to help our customers to eliminate barriers to get into the marketplace. So now is the hour. Now is the time for us to really seize the moment. President Obama said, as we've recovered from this recession, the transition to clean energy has the potential to grow our economy and create millions of jobs, but only if we accelerate the transition, and we must seize the moment. Thank you very much for your time today, and if you have any questions, please let me know.
Does anybody have any questions that they want to type in the box on the right-hand part of the screen? They can do that now. Nothing? I don't see any questions. Well, you have Joanne's email address on the screen, and if you have any questions, you can email her directly. And somebody's hand keeps raising. Pat, it looks like you have a question, but if you could just type it in the box on the questions area, that would be perfect. And William, you too, if you just want to type your question in the box, that would be great, just so that I don't think we can unmute you for you to ask. Okay. Oh, Will, I think I unmuted you if you want to ask your question. And yes, the webinar will be on our website. I'll send the link to everybody after the webinar is over. And does clean energy provide assistance with conversion to LNG fleets? Joanne.
I guess it's the actual conversion of the vehicles. Is that the question?
Yeah, all the question says is, does clean energy provide assistance with conversion to LNG fleets?
So if they're actually talking about converting the vehicle to LNG, the physical conversion, no, we don't, but we can help with the financing of that.
Perfect. All right, is there more questions? I see the oh, there's one. Is there a minimum fleet size necessary to show a benefit economically from CNG?
Yes, everything is based on gallons, essentially. You can imagine the equipment cost is always going to be the same price for the most part. It's a fixed price. I mean, obviously, if it's a larger fleet, it's going to have more cost. But the reality is, when you look at the gallons, it's amortized as the cost of the station over a time period. So it's all really based on the amount of gallons that you have. If somebody was interested in doing an analysis or trying to get more information on that, we would be more than happy to look at that for them.
And Joanne, I sent you the questions in the chat box, because there's about 3 that I just sent to you.
Oh. Let's see one.
The first one should be if someone was interested in the simplest step.
Oh, here we go. Which is in the simplest step, which would drive such a vehicle. So they're interested in looking to drive a test drive a vehicle.
What?
I'm not sure I understand that question. They're looking to test drive a vehicle?
What programs? I believe so, yes.
We certainly can connect them if they'd like to test drive vehicles, depending on what type of vehicle they're interested in. We have connections to the manufacturers, the OEMs. Obviously, it just really depends on what type of vehicle they'd like to test drive. So certainly, feel free to reach out to me, and we can connect you with, the vehicle that you'd be looking to drive. I see a question. It seems that that it's on building modifications, where they're looking that they'll have to change out some of the heating systems in the service bays. I'm not an engineer, but what I believe that they're asking is that some of the building modifications, some of the garages specifically here in the Midwest, have open flames to them and open, sparks. And obviously with natural gas, it's not something that you can have. So yes, there are often building modifications that need to be done in the buildings. That is also something that Clean Energy can help with. We do have in-house engineers that do building modifications. So if you have some questions, please let me know.
And then I sent you another one. Is there information on what has to be done to the building where the vehicles are serviced?
Yeah, that goes back to that last question. It really depends on the building, age, how it's designed, what type of heating it has. A lot of times you'll need to have explosion-proof lighting. If there's any motors for the doors, that'll need to be explosion-proof. I mean, we can do an analysis for the building if they want to be done. Like I said, not every building is created equal. So that will be something that needs to be looked at. At the end of the day, the local fire marshal will need to sign off on the building. So it's not always a bad thing, bad practice to involve the fire marshal in the conversation earlier on, let them know what you're doing, what your plans are. Oftentimes, what you will have to do is they may not know the questions to ask because, this may be a new thing for them. And again, that's something that we'd be willing to help that conversation with and connect them with our specialty engineers on that. I noticed that there's another question about LNG stations in the area. At this time, we don't have any operational LNG stations in the area. We do have a listing on our website of all the LNG stations that will be available, like I had mentioned, the natural gas highway infrastructure that we're building. There will be several in Illinois as well as northern Indiana. The first one that has opened is actually Seville, Ohio, which is outside about 40 miles northwest of Akron. So there'll be, if you take a look at our website, you can get a listing of all the stations in the area. There's a question about a plan to train more inspectors for CNG tank. That would be something that comes from the tank manufacturer. Clean Energy is not involved with the tanks on the vehicles. I know that there are some training programs out there, so that would be something that you could work with the manufacturers on. The next question is, what determines whether a fleet becomes LNG or CNG? So the reality is CNG is really used for the majority of the fleets. LNG is predominantly for over-the-road trucking, and the reason for that is LNG is denser and it has more range. LNG essentially is CNG that has been cooled to negative 260, and at that state it actually becomes a liquid. So on those vehicles that need to have more range, like the over-road trucking, LNG would be the best solution for them. With the increase of technology, both on the vehicle side and on the infrastructure side, you know, like a transit bus, which might have used LNG in the past, does not need to have that capacity because of the increase of technology. So LNG is mainly for over-the-road trucking. The question is, what are we doing to get smaller communities connected to CNG that may not have a pilot station? So pilot station, the pilot station project is really our LNG project. For smaller communities, it really wouldn't be LNG anyway, it would be CNG. And we are always looking to help that conversation and bring people to the table to build, you know, a public access station for communities to get together and use those. So if you would like more information about that, or you know, certainly please give me a call. The next question is the timeline for financing options for conversion. I mean, if that, for conversion, I'm thinking of the vehicles. Again, if, you know, that is something that you need help with, of financing the vehicles, again, it's a question that just needs to be asked, and, you know, we can look at your vehicles and, you know, see where the closest clean energy fueling station is, and or we could build you a station. What is the biggest growth in area of terms of CNG deployment and why? I would say our biggest growth market is probably our trucking market, excuse me, our trash market. And the reason being is generally, because obviously there are municipalities involved, but generally they're private companies. You know, for example, Waste Management, Republic, they see it, the bottom line, they get it. A lot of times they also have access to landfills. So some of them are either capturing that and utilizing it in their trucks, and or capturing it and then selling it off as a premium fuel. So I would say that trash is our fastest growing market. Clean energy, the question is, does Clean Energy provide financial assistance for public access stations or just only private fleets? Yes, we absolutely do. We provide, you know, we're building a station, a public access station we certainly can finance that project. It doesn't have to be just a private fleet. Someone had just asked a more technical question on the building modifications. Again, I apologize, I'm not an engineer, so I won't be able to answer that question for you. The next question is, are public transit systems the school districts utilizing CNG for the buses? Absolutely. Transit is also a very fast growing market. For example, LA, 2,400, their whole fleet, 2,400 of their buses run on natural gas. About 1,000 buses in New York City, Boston, Washington, D.C., Akron Metro, Canton, Columbus now has just decided to go natural gas. Dallas, Texas, DART is going 100%, 600 units, paratransit and transit buses to natural gas. About 27% of buses on order today are natural gas. I would say for school buses, it is a growing market, but more of a challenging, just because of their vehicle availability as well as cost of conversion. Also, school buses don't burn the amount of fuel that, say, a transit bus burns. They burn about 4,500 gallons per year, where transit is more about 10,000 or 12,000 gallons. So as I mentioned earlier, trying to displace that cost over the lifetime of the equipment and the vehicles and everything makes the conversation a little bit different. School buses often partner with others in the community to get projects off the ground and essentially fuel within the public network. That's something they're already, a lot of them are already familiar with doing. So going back to public-private partnerships, a lot of times school buses, even just to get started, you know, because a lot of times funding is a challenge for them to get new buses. But to get started, a lot of times they'll start with fueling in the public access network. Do we supply LNG delivery? Yes, we do.
Was that the last question, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if anybody has any other questions, they can go ahead and email. Actually, Pat Clarkson just had another question. Let me shoot that to you.
Source, do they mean station? I don't understand the question.
The one where is your source in this area?
Area? What do they mean by source in the area? Do they mean, what do they mean?
Can you clarify on that, Pat?
Yeah. I think the question is going back to the LNG distribution. If I had to guess, that's what the question is coming from. And quite frankly, I don't know that answer. That would be a question that could be answered from our trucking group. So if you wanted to email me, I'd be happy to connect you with somebody within our trucking division.
Perfect. Well, it seems like that's all the questions that we have for now. So if anybody has any others that they think of later, Joanne's information is on the screen. And then you can find the webinar on our website as well. So if there's no other questions, Joanne, thank you so much for giving this great webinar. I got a lot of good feedback on it, and I'll be sending you the questions as well, just so that you can review them too.
Great. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time and your interest. Again, just to reiterate what Stephanie said, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I may not be the right person, but I'll be happy to connect you with those that are.
All right. Thanks, Joanne. You have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks for joining, everybody.